When people think of railroad hotspots, New England certainly does not come to mind first. Most freight rail lines host modest traffic frequency at best, and the passenger traffic can become monotonous. However, if you know where to look, one can find a vast array of unique railroad action. This video will focus on the railroads of western New England, providing a glimpse into what can be seen throughout the region. We will begin looking at the passenger rail action that can be found in western Connecticut, starting with the Metro-North Danbury branch. Just after 8 a.m., a southbound commuter train pulls into the station at Wilton. The BL-20GH is a low-emissions locomotive built by Brookville Equipment. Metro-North owns 12 of these oddball engines, which are common power for the railroad's diesel branch line shuttle trains. Metro-North operates 3 branch lines in western Connecticut: the New Canaan branch, the Danbury branch, and the Waterbury branch. Of these 3, the latter 2 utilize diesel equipment running shuttle trains between the terminus of each branch and the electrified New Haven line located along the Northeast Corridor. These are great places to catch the oddball BL-20GH locomotives in action. About 1.5 hours later, the same shuttle set returns north to Danbury as train number 6810. After 6810, we take a quick trip down to the busiest rail line in New England, the Northeast Corridor. This section of the corridor is owned by Metro-North as far as New Haven, hosting regular commuter service using the railroad's M8 train sets, as well as Amtrak's Acela, Northeast Regional, and Vermonter routes. Built by Japanese manufacturer Kawasaki, the M8 train sets began delivery in the 2010s. With both third rail and overhead catenary capability, these sets operate most of Metro-North New Haven line trips daily. The only scheduled exceptions to this norm are the handful of Danbury line trains that run through to Grand Central on weekdays, which utilize a GE P32 dual-mode Genesis locomotive. Amtrak's Acela service, America's only electrified high-speed train, operates between Boston and Washington, D.C., utilizing 24-year-old train sets joint manufactured by Alstom and Bombardier. These old train sets are beginning to show their age and are due to be replaced soon, though the replacements have been littered with delays. Amtrak's standard electrified trains along the NEC are exclusively powered by Siemens ACS 64 locomotives, which were delivered in the 2010s. Exceptions to the monotony of rail traffic along the New Haven line include the few Metro North trains per day that end up receiving diesel power, occasional equipment moves, a single CSX local, as well as a pair of Providence and Worcester freight trains that run exclusively. Exceptions to the monotony of rail traffic along the New Haven line include the few Metro North trains per day that end up receiving diesel power, occasional equipment moves, a single CSX local, as well as a pair of Providence and Worcester freight trains that run exclusively at night. I've managed to catch one of these elusive freight trains only once in my life back in July of 2022. Providence and Worcester trains CHFP and FPCHR rock runners that connect Cedar Hill Yard near New Haven, Connecticut with Fresh Pond Yard in Queens, New York. The FPCH seen here is the empty backhaul of rock hoppers. It is typical for this train to be powered by P&W's standard cab -8 locomotives. We'll finish off our day back along the Danbury branch as the shuttle led by number 111 heads north once again. As you can see, though the passenger rail lines of Western Connecticut may seem monotonous, if you know where to look, there are plenty of interesting sights to be seen. Next, we will venture further north and east to get a taste of some freight action. It's Monday, August 12th, 2024, and after hours of early morning driving, we have arrived in Brattleboro, Vermont, along the New England Central's main line.
I'll talk to you when we get near the cornfield, as they used to call it.
Roger, I'll get you 100 right now if you want to take an extra 10 miles.
You want it now, Lincoln, or you want to just... Yeah, he says he'll wait, so we'll talk to you like probably when we get south of Vernon.
Hey, Roger, you got Vernon work?
Negative. We got off scot-free today.
All right, perfect. We will talk to you. Gotcha.
Alright, so this is the south end of Brattleboro Yard. This is the origin point of train 611, which turns from Brattleboro down to Palmer, Massachusetts and back. Today they've got 3 of NECR's newly acquired and newly painted Dash 8s leading the way. Been meaning to come up and shoot these all summer, so glad to be able to get this done. Checked off the list here. They're going to be departing in a few minutes, heading south, so get a good chase of them in, and then try and find a lot more short line action in western Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire today. As mentioned, the hand-me-down Dash 8 locomotives were placed in revenue service along New England Central in 2024. They served to replace the railroad's fleet of EMD SD40-2 locomotives, which Genesee and Wyoming were forced to retire by regulators. They looked sharp in the fresh G&W corporate orange. Just after 9:45 a.m., 611 departs the yard heading south for Palmer, Massachusetts. As the rear of the train departs the yard limits at Brattleboro, the chase is on. En route, we hear the dispatcher give the train permission to proceed south of East Northfield, Massachusetts.
357-357 to the NECR 4068-4068 South SUTH due to August 12-12-2024 2024. Box 2 WO proceed from East Northfield to milepost 100-100 on the Palmer main track. 1616 track Wilson's in effect 225-225. Orange Cut 2 TWO box Mac box tire 2 TWO 1616 over.
We catch up with 611 once again at Vernon, milepost 115, as they coast south. All 3 of these engines are former CSX motors, with 4068 being former CSXT 7740, 4065 being former CSXT number 7660, and 4062 being former CSXT 7313. Before that, 4062 was Conrail number 6084. In another 5 miles, we arrive at our last stop on this chase, East Northfield, Massachusetts. Here, the line splits with one track heading towards Palmer and one track heading towards Greenfield. We elected to break the chase off early as we heard there was another noteworthy train heading east along the former Pan Am Southern. We headed towards Royalston, Massachusetts, where we intercepted train EDPW heading for Gardner. EDPW carries interchange traffic for the Providence and Worcester Railroad at Gardner, Massachusetts. The RS3L-equipped ex-Conrail -8 liter made for a great catch. Berkshire and Eastern was created in 2022 as the new operator for Pan Am Southern, the joint venture between Norfolk Southern and Pan Am Railways. This was as a result of the CSX acquisition of Pan Am, which meant that a neutral party had to be brought in to control the Pan Am Southern to preserve competition. With Genesee and Wyoming purchasing so many second-hand -8s, New England is becoming a stronghold for these old GEs to get a second life. In Gardner, we will get to witness a live interchange between the Berkshire and Eastern and the Providence and Worcester. The first step of this interchange is the EDPW power has cut away and is pulling to the east end of the Gardner yard. With the light power out of the way, the conductor of EDPW lines the switches for the Providence and Worcester to come into the yard. In a few more minutes, Providence and Worcester train WOGR pulls into the yard at Gardner behind two of Providence and Worcester's corporate painted B40-8s. The double-stack containers on these trains have been repurposed to carry garbage. These containers have become an abundant source of traffic for the B&E, shipping dozens over their rails daily on various trains. Next, as the two jobs sat side by side, something even better happens. Norfolk Southern Intermodal Train 265, running under Berkshire and Eastern symbol B101, rolls up alongside the two -8s, making for a three-way, side-by-side of every railroad that serves Gardner. Pretty cool. This scene is made even more incredible because it will soon be impossible. Seeing a three-way side-by-side is rare, but it was made even more so by the fact that the two Dash 8s still wore the paint schemes of their pre-G&W predecessors. In the coming years, these engines will all wear the G&W corporate orange. Further, the third train in this scene, B101, will soon be a thing of the past as well, as in the coming months, Norfolk Southern plans to reroute these single-stack intermodal trains over the CSX former Boston and Albany route via a new connection with CSX in Voorheesville, New York. This was part of the agreement in the sale of Pan Am Railways to CSX and allows Norfolk Southern to double-stack their Ayer intermodal trains by bypassing the Hoosick Tunnel. So, in a few years, none of these trains will look like this anymore. With the Providence and Worcester power heading to the west end of the yard to pick up the EDPW consist, the Berkshire and Eastern power now pulls forward and reverses back onto the cut that WOGR has just arrived with. Now tied on to the cut of cars that was dropped off by WOGR, the B&E crew pulls the entire train off of the P&W main line and onto the siding at Gardner. Next, now that they're clear of the P&W track, the B&E reverses the entire consist through CPF 345 to get onto the main line and clear up the siding for the P&W to now pull forward onto their track with the cut of cars from EDPW. With the EDPW cut retrieved, the Providence and Worcester now starts making their way back towards their track, now with the wide cab -8 leading. With the interchange complete, we now headed back west as we heard of another train coming towards us out of East Deerfield. We made it as far as Orange, Massachusetts before having to stop and intercept NS train 264 running under the symbol of Berkshire and Eastern B100. The NS trains operating along the B&E require a SD60 leader equipped with ACES cab signaling for operation over the MBTA. After B100, we head back into Greenfield, Massachusetts, just in time for the arrival of Amtrak's northbound Vermonter, sporting one of its newly painted Phase 7 Genesis locomotives. Amtrak 56 is heading north up the Conn River line, which will eventually converge with the NECR main line at East Northfield, where we were earlier today. Following right behind Amtrak 56, coming out of East Deerfield Yard, is B&E train EDBF. Given its interesting 4-axle power, the Bellows Falls turn was definitely a target train for me today, so as it passed by while I was in the parking lot of the Greenfield Amtrak station, I immediately gave chase heading north. The Bay Line is another short-line railroad in the Genesee and Wyoming family, running between Panama City, Florida, and Dothan, Alabama. The G&W mix and match power often, and it happened that these two Bay Line GP40s were assigned to the Berkshire and Eastern. Seeing a locomotive in the Bay Line corporate scheme is extremely neat in western Massachusetts, with the XCN motor a nice complement as well. Now back in East Northfield, and EDBF diverges off of the end of the Conn River line and onto the NECR Palmer, Maine for the final sprint up to Brattleboro and Bellows Falls. On our way out of the area, we stopped at Berkshire and Eastern's East Deerfield Yard. On display at the railroad's central classification yard is a wide array of their colorful power. Also seen arriving is train PWED back from Gardner. Further along on the way home, I stopped to catch one more of Western New England's staple railroads, CT Rail. This commuter service runs between New Haven and Springfield, and I was able to pull off in Windsor, Connecticut for a northbound. As 4476 heads north for Springfield, I want to thank you for watching today's video and hope you enjoyed this snippet of New England railroading.